Years later, um, the year 2000, I was finally recognized as a photographer. It was a time in my life that back in the 90s when I was um, making cards, and for myself mostly, but people seemed to want the cards. They were buying them. So I gained a little confidence as a photographer. So when the application or the chance to apply to the Cooperative Gallery 213 came up, I was ready and I joined. And here I am 25 years later. So anyway, let's take a look at the photographs and see what I can tell you. Before we start, one last thing. I came across a Robert Frost quote a number of years ago. He was asked what was the purpose of his poetry. And he said, purpose of poetry is to provide a momentary stay against the confusion of life. A momentary stay against the confusion of life. So obviously he saw life out there as kind of chaotic and he felt, I guess, that the poem you would have attention for a while, so that would be part of the stay. You're not thinking about the out there. And that his poetry somehow not only providing something to attend to, but also his poetry was very organized. So he was a man who, always rhymed, had a rhyme scheme to the poems, wrote pretty much in iambic pentameter, and of course came up with a famous quote. He said that free verse, where it has none of those things, is like playing tennis without a net. So what I did with this show is try to use that because I substituted the word poetry with art. Art is a momentary stay against the confusion of the world, and tried to represent the chaos and also the order that maybe that suggests is a good thing. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through the photographs. I thought I'd just organize this by taking a look at the photographs and categorizing them in three different ways. One would be straight shots, which would be just straight photography. The other would be created photographs, which would be manipulated in some way, and or they are photo constructions, I call them, which we'll take a look at. And if you have any questions as we go along, let me know. Okay, what we have here, obviously, is no, maybe it's not obvious because sometimes people think my photographs are paintings. But this would be a straight photograph that I took in Barcelona in a hotel we were staying at. And I'd like to point out the difference between, see, what do I want to, this doesn't exist out in the world, all right? Because as I was walking down the hall of the hotel that this was taken at, I could see the ceiling, I could see the floor, I could see the wall next to it, I could see pipes running over on the side. I could see the top of the photograph. In other words, there's no photograph in life, as you all know, because you happen to all be artists, and I didn't know what the audience was going to be or what they would, So this didn't happen until I took my camera up to my eye and created a viewfinder moment, which is what becomes the photograph. But I don't see the wall anymore. I don't see the pipes over here because I'm blocking them out. I don't see the floor. I don't see the ceiling. what I see, what really excited me was seeing that radiator with all the lines there, and then seeing the stairway, and not only seeing the stairway, but seeing a reflection of the stairway, which always excites me a little bit more. And being able to get rid of all those extraneous materials by the way that I would, crop it, and that becomes the photo. So what I get excited about would be, all these lines here. It's in addition to what this is about, but and the curving line here that comes down and the repetition of the places, and you're all artists here, so you already know that. But anyway, that would be, one of the straight photographs. So anybody have any questions on the photo or any comments or anything to make before we move to the next one?
Bill?
Chuck?
Photograph something and it starts to compose stuff. We always look at it in thirds. It's
Right.
a difficult thing, right?
Right.
And look what we got here. We don't have thirds, we have fourths.
Right.
And usually that doesn't work, but in this photograph, it works extremely well.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
because the two diagonals of the radiator and the frame of the mirror with the stairs, the way they meet in the middle,
Yeah.
it keeps your eyes right into the photograph, whereas usually you would think, oh, that would distract everything. But I'm drawing back into it again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Coming from you, I treasure that. Ken?
So when I paint, I feel like I'm talking to other painters in like the history of art, and I'm addressing certain painters. And do you feel like you're talking to painters or to photographers when you're composing this? I mean, it looks a little bit like a Mondrian. It's kind of rectangular and squared
Okay.
out and flat.
Good. I like that. You mean consciously when I'm taking
Yeah,
the photograph?
consciously, yeah,
Oh, no, the only audience is me.
it's the moment.
No, I don't think of an audience. That's an interesting way to look at it, though. I don't know, Chuck, do you think of an audience when you?
Not really, you don't. That's interesting that you say that, but now that you say it, I'm going to be thinking about it probably. Maybe subconsciously I do and don't realize.
Well, I mean, you might be thinking of Ansel Adams or like his approach, or you might be kind of picking up approaches from different photographers. That's kind of what I mean. Like, I feel like,
Yeah, and I think you would let
Yeah,
all those things and all the photographs you've seen, affect you in some way that would kind of result in something like this. Well, let me show you one other photograph that would be a straight photograph. The other thing with this too is all the lines in here really create problems. I mean, how do you get them parallel and perpendicular? And you have to get down and kind of get on a level with it so that it's a straight shot, so you don't get things bent and so on. So that's all part of it too. But the great thing is the excitement you see really in the camera when this becomes the box, that is in. And when I say that doesn't really exist in life, that's what I mean. Nobody's going to go there and see this because there's all that other stuff. Anyway, yeah, why don't we take that one?
And I'd just like to remind the Zoom audience, if you have any questions for Bill, put them in the chat.
Well, this is another straight photograph, and this is one of my favorites, actually, for a number of reasons. The colors, I love this pastel color. It's very peaceful, I think, and so is this. And the nature up here, and the division between the nature and the man-made kind of world with the windows. And I love geometry, which was part of the previous photograph too. But the square, of course, of the picture, but also one of these steps, and that's square, and again, I think, Chuck, I've stayed away from creating a middle line, I think. So this was taken, I think, in Regensburg, Germany. That really doesn't matter, but I don't know, any comments or questions on that?
Very. It was so simple in this one and that one and the one that you showed before and this one. And then suddenly you're hitting the graffiti and it's all over. So I
Right.
love the way you can look at both, get something out of both of them.
Hmm. Yeah, and kind of jumping ahead, that would be, when I mentioned the chaos of Frost's statement and everything, trying to represent that, that would be that's why I put that photograph in the middle, to give it that power of, because to me, that's chaotic. I don't recognize any things in it. And the other photograph on the wall here too, which is kind of taken from that, is again representing chaos. But what I like about that is in the midst of chaos, there's love. So love in the midst of chaos. Love in the time of cholera. Isn't there a title there, right? And I put that there because we're in the month of February, and it would be appropriate for the heart symbol to be there. The other approach would be what I call created photographs, which would be manipulated in some way or would be, yes, I've forgotten the name that I call it. Photo construction, yeah, right. So let's see. Well, let's take that simple one. Well, yeah, let's take that one. Yeah, that one. So this would be an example of what I call photo construction. It's not, it's not a straight photographs of all these pieces, but all these pieces are put into it, are separate photographs themselves and are put together, of course, in the computer. What these are photographs that I took, and I just took pieces of homes in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, which has very colorful houses there. And rather than take a photograph of the house, I didn't want that really. I wasn't trying to document that. I was drawn to the color, and so this might be the color of a part of the house, and this also, and these, and try to put them together. Now, I got the idea for the photograph from my computer. It had a screensaver that was a floating screensaver. So I was taking my photographs and it was floating them up to the top. And they happened to be these photographs that I put together. And I said, could I do a still picture of that and get the same effect? So this is that creation where I'm trying to get the effect of these pieces floating through. And I mean, this one's just coming into the float. So is that one. Well, anyway, that was kind of the game that I was playing with this. So I don't know, any comments on that? What?
The bird, like footprints there.
Oh, okay.
These,
That's
they seem different from the other shapes and colors.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. And I'm hoping maybe it gave it some, some direction. Because that's actually the corner of one of the houses, the black and white. So anyway, I call it a photo construction because it's made up of a number of photographs. It's like a collage, I suppose, really, but that's the painter's word. We'll call it a photo construction. Um, let me pick out one or two other ones here that would be that. Well, the abstracts, now why don't we leave it there, I think, yeah. The abstracts up there are all photo constructions, and they were an attempt to actually do something with the photograph, which was to take something very ordinary and maybe even ugly and put it together in a way that it was interesting or maybe even beautiful in a way to see. Those are all a number of photographs. So the one that Karen is showing right now is a photograph of, if you go to downtown Binghamton and you walk along the River Walk, and along there, graffiti artists have put on graffiti. And to make it more attractive, the city has painted it over with ugly gray paint, which is much uglier than the graffiti. So that's a place, if you know where I am, on the Riverwalk, of concrete, I guess, or cement, I never know the difference, is the background. And they're square because that's the shape that the city used to paint over the graffiti. The golden thing on the top was just a golden thing on a pole, on like a telephone pole, with some kind of writing in there. And what I did was I took out some of the writing because I didn't know if it would be offensive to somebody. I didn't know what it said. It looked like it was from Middle East or something, all right? But I left enough of it so that it makes the golden piece, I think, a little interesting. So each one of those was made from that, from the wall down there, and layering it with other pieces of the wall. If you can, on the left, if you can see that, there's a little curve, yeah, and that, the red one, which I call the cardinal, was made out of a couple of photographs in the Czech Republic. And we were going to a restaurant at the end of our day, and there was this big red metal gate in front of the driveway of the restaurant. And for some reason, I took a picture and figured that maybe I could use it in some way, because I don't usually, care about taking pictures of gates. But so that's another, photo construction. And the yellow one with the black hole in the middle is not a photo construction. That's actually a straight photo of a vent that a restaurant had in Lisbon. So outside the restaurant, we were walking down the street, and it was one of those, oh yeah. I don't know, you do have, that would be one of those breathtaking moments where you say, oh yeah, I can see that. The yellow and the black, and you don't have to do anything to it. It's there. Life has presented you with a found poem of some kind, take it. So the other one I just want to point to, it would be more a straight photograph, is the light switch, which again is one of those, when it happened, I was standing in the hall of our house, and it was late afternoon, and the sun was a golden color, and it came in through the window and bounced off a mirror and then lit that from the side in the shadow there. And it was just, to me, it was breathtaking. It was like, oh yeah, have to get the camera and take a picture. Now, I don't know whether I've done it justice or not, but it's moments like that, seeing arrangements of geometry, color, line, that are the things that excite me. And I'll go to a couple poems in a minute. So any questions of things that are on the wall?
chaos with is it a hubcap? Or was that manipulated? Did you? add-
It was manipulated in that I intensified the colors.
Oh, okay,
All right. I mean, I saw that kind of furnace burning color
yeah,
and kind of curved around, and there was another curve with a knob and another curve outside. And so that's what kind of attracted me to it. And we talked about the heart in the middle, all right? So, well, any questions on any other ones? Just, all right, I think to finish up, two pictures which are a little bit different from the rest of them in the abstracts up there is this photograph, which would be a photo construction also of a house, inside of a house, the yellow door, and right outside the house, a scene from the Lower East Side of New York City, a photograph that I took when I was working down there, with a bottle of urine in the bottom of it, and various other kind of graffiti and Jesus saves. And I put it together because we had a homeless show here at the gallery a number of years ago, and I wanted to make some kind of a statement. I mean, that's what we were supposed to do. So that was my statement, and I called it, I think, Just Outside Your Door. And for this show, I renamed it The Great Divide. Now, can you see what it is from there? I mean, it's, yeah. Any questions on that? Because this is one like on First Friday that people stood and looked at and kind of puzzled, like, what's that? Is that, where was that? On the left?
What is that?
The lighter color there.
In the photo.
Yeah.
It's just the wall where the sun, the bright
It's a wall.
sun is,
Okay,
so which realistically, I guess you shouldn't be able to see because there's that other world right out there. But so that's the inside of our house. I mean, that's our yellow door. It was yellow at the time anyway. And sometimes it could be the outside of the house. No. And there was one other one. I'll get this one just because I'm here. And I'll say that this is our final message to you. Now, this was another one that I saw people puzzling over as they would stand and they would look at it and wonder what that was all about until I came along and kind of guided them a little bit. So do you get it?
interesting, the tennis has a lot.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Well, I call it courtly love. So yeah. English teacher have to have a play on words or something, you know. So yeah, I love you. All right. The E is missing, but here's the U. So that's all we need. So let me just check here. So anyway, again, keep in mind Frost, or my interpretation of Frost's poem, and art is a momentary stay against the confusion of the world, with the chaos up there of the door. Has anybody seen that in real life? You know where that is? Well, it's in Johnson City. And it's, if you go toward Johnson City and St. Anthony's Church, okay, if you take a right and go across the overpass and then look down, you'll see that building there, which is a work of art in itself. Yeah, yeah. Right. So,
It is still the same?
yeah, Yeah, the last time I looked. Yeah. And I probably intensified those colors. But again, I'm not trying to do a document. I'm just trying to get an image that I like. So anything else? Yeah, Ken.
So in the other half of your creative life, you're a man on stage. So
Right.
you're involved in theater art
Right.
and the art of people and relationships with people, yet none of the photographs have any human aspect or people, and it's kind of interesting.
Right.
Why?
Well, you don't have to deal with any of those things. They're out there and you can spend forever looking at them and taking pictures um, and I guess it's a little bit, it is too formal maybe, too much interest in form. But then I don't think that's bad.
I think that you walk by every day and they suddenly catch you where we might just miss them entirely. So it's really nice to see, like the light switch,
Yeah,
it's simple, but it's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Well, thanks, Judy. It's nice. And I had something, one of the similarities, and I'll finish with this, between my acting life and the photography life is that I love rehearsal. I absolutely love, I could never do a show and just keep rehearsing it because you play. I mean, people think you just go in and you memorize your lines and you do your lines. No, no, no. There's playing, and what you did on Thursday, you may not want to do on Friday in the rehearsal because you just discovered some other way to relate to the character. And so you go with that. And it's play. Play. It sounds like, well, it's not serious. No, and for the manipulated photographs, that's what I do with a computer. I play with it. I mean, I couldn't explain to you exactly what I did with this, for example, but I wasn't crazy about the original color. So I played with contrast and saturation and probably curves to get this not to get this color, but to create it so I could like it. It's not something that I wouldn't know how to do that. All right. But I can play with it until that comes up and I say, yeah, that's what I want. Okay. And again, so there is that connection, kind of not what you asked, but like kind of connection with rehearsal and playing. And the last thing, I keep saying that, this really will be. At some Joyce Carol Oates, I think, was Leah and I heard a talk by her in New York one time, and she was asked what writing is, and she said, looking out the window, just spending time looking out the window, and this is like spending time looking at images and tweaking things and just, kind of, well, I don't know, not, no, I don't like that. Like the blue door up there with the yellow. I finally cropped that down to what I liked. And it took a while to get there. But anyway, thank you very much for listening to my stumbling talk.